Two of Me.
Yeah.
Two of Me started when, I guess, I've really started on, mental wellness is a journey. It's really difficult. I think the most difficult thing about it is that the realization that you're not well isn't the end of it. That's like the start of what becomes a very long road that you'll potentially never, you'll never reach the end of. I mean, I'm feeling really good and positive at the moment, but 2 weeks ago, I wasn't. I was horrendous, and I've got this thing where if and when I am not at my best or at my very worst, there's this other person that comes out. I'd like to think of myself as quite an affable guy. I'm not, but then there's this horrendous mean streak that comes out, and so I personified that with a guy called Sample McSamwell, who just appears every now and then. Who he'll just every time something's going well, he'll just come out and just be like, ooh. So in the song, I'm getting on well with this lady, everything's going well, and Sample comes, clicks his fingers, the dog bites, and she's injured, runs screaming off into the night. So something will go well, and I'll sabotage it, but it's not me; it's another person.
Yeah.
So that the whole thing about there being two of me is that there's this other person that kind of is there when I'm not feeling too good about myself. Mm-hmm. So that's that. Then Major Key is all about, I kind of get to this realization that no matter what, it's a stark and it's quite a bleak realization that whatever we do, we're fucked, because there's always going to be someone who is going to make life better for themselves, and by making life better for themselves, they're going to make it worse for everyone else. And there are certainly a handful of people in this country and in the world who can do that. Yeah. And they routinely do that. It's because it's very apparent over the whatever. So Major Key is all about being good to the people around you, because that's the change that we can elicit is the change that we can elicit to each other on a day-to-day basis. And so that's what Major Key is all about. It's all, living life in a major key, help the ones around you to live life in a major key. So that's what that one's about. Don't Be a Dick was...
I love that.
It's fairly self-explanatory.
Don't Be a Dick is all about it's mainly about the media, about people in the media and people who read certain media outlets, and I'm not just talking about there's the Daily Mail and the Sun and these the Murdoch owned press and the oligarch owned press. It's not just about that, because there are people on the other side. I feel like Guardian readers are in some ways just as bad as the other side, because neither side seems to listen to each other.
Yeah.
So there's no level of understanding between other people. People will immediately judge someone who thinks another way, because their way of thinking is right and the other person of thinking is wrong. Yeah. Then there's no conversation between anyone. So if just don't be a dick to each other and listen to what other people have to say, because they might have some valid points. I mean, we're quite a Romani kind of crowd here, and the bubble that we live in, the echo chamber that we live in is. But there are people who have very valid reasons for voting to leave. There are people who have very valid reasons, however misguided you might think they are. There are people who think a certain way, but it's because of not because they're bad people. Growing up in Yorkshire and Bradford and all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of people who have some things that I very deeply disagree with, some views, some world views, but it doesn't make them a bad person. It means that the journey that they've been on up to this point means that they disagree with you, and that's a really important thing. It goes back to Major Key in that you're not going to elicit change by being being a bastard to the fishermen who voted leave because they wanted to get their fishing waters back or something like that. You know, but because there's a refusal to listen to people who have this other view, and the way that we can make the world a better place in ourselves is by listening to what people have to say, what conclusions they've come to, and then I don't know, like. I don't feel like anyone's going to change their mind about anything anymore. You know, like that's where we've arrived at. But don't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Like it, and so that's what don't be a dick is.
I think touching on that, the UK has an inbred xenophobia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a huge divide between. Scotland and England has always had a big divide.
Yeah,
definitely.
The divide between north and south of England has there's a divide, but everyone always says north and south. They forget the Midlands.
Yep.
Midlands are also have their own opinion on things. Wales also has their own opinion on things. Ireland has their own opinion on things, and that's why we come under a central government. But I think our problem is that the central government is always run from the biggest,
London.
biggest sway of opinion, which is London, which has the highest population. So sometimes we have to go along with some things because the decisions are made in London by the people of the south.
Yeah.
And that's where the xenophobia breeds, is because it doesn't feel like it's transpired up the coast and up the Midlands and up to Scotland. Sometimes
it's all divide and conquer, isn't it? Like it is that way. Like if like with the whole Scottish thing, like the only reason that we would ever have a left-wing government is because Scotland so massively voted Labour. They were huge Labour voters, so the SNP came, split the vote. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, but that's the thing. Like by keeping us divided, the people seek to conquer. But it's the most heartbreaking thing about it is the whole 51-49 thing. Is it's the most heartbreaking thing about it. It's like the last election in America, or maybe it was the one before, where it was very close. And so like when a vote like Brexit happens or something like that, and it's very close, it's not a good thing. It's so heartbreaking because literally half the people who were so passionate about this lose out.
Yeah.
And if it had been the other way round, it would have been just as bad. Yeah. Like that, what would make the world a better place was if everyone believed in the same thing, and that would be wonderful, but it doesn't. And so that's don't be a dick. And then Keep On was I guess Keep On was like I wrote loads of songs over. Pardon? The banger. It is.
The banger.
It's the banger.
Actually, I hadn't attributed it with being the banger of that set. That's interesting, but I think it's because it's a new song, and we'd learnt it fairly quickly. But I do really enjoy it. By the way,
good melody, man.
Thank you. Lovely tune.
But like I'd written a lot of poetry, especially that was quite bleak and quite angry over the past year about Well, we've all been there. We all know what it's all about. Yeah. And I wrote all this stuff, and I was like, I'm going to put this to XMBT. I'm going to put this to X. And I was like, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to, like. There's one song that we've got that is angry. It's all about it's an old story, a parable, I guess, that my mum told me about the naked truth. That we'll eventually record and all that kind of stuff. So I'm keeping that one, but the rest of them, I was just like, do you know what? People don't want this. There's an anger in everyone. Everyone is just so angry about something. But I guess it goes back to Major Key. Like Keep On is all about just, it's gonna be all right. Like if we can hold on to what keeps us happy and what we believe in and what we believe to be true and what we believe to be right, then something will happen. Yeah, I guess. So just keep I don't know, keep staying, keep believing in what you believe is right, and keep following your principle and your principles and your code of ethics, and eventually something will happen. And if it doesn't, we'll have still spent all of this time just being nice to each other. And that's I think that's the most important thing to me, is that as a society we've just got really nasty.
I think
really
and
nasty,
really turned off as well towards other people. Like really isolated, even when you're around other people. To the point where other people become like objects separate from you. Like as in there's me, there's the story of my life. That's of utmost importance. These other people are just like fleeting figures, and I don't need to. Why give them attention? This is the kind of mindset that you see. How do I know that one? Because you feel it. You feel it come in. But the weird thing is, the opposite happens. Like when you go around and you really give people attention. Like really, like look at them when you're talking to them. Address them like they are really important, because they are. Like,
absolutely.
But then you attract it, and that becomes, the more that I've started doing this over the last few days, when I've been climbing, when I was at the shops, it's really strange when people start talking to you out of the blue. And just when you're really present, it's almost like a magic trick.
Yeah, man.
Like you go around and people like come to you and like say stuff to you, and a few people in the last few days have mistaken me for someone else, just because I'm probably walking around being present, and they come over and they talk to me like they know me. And that's so funny. I didn't even tell them that I've never met them before.
Absolutely.
Just got on board and hello.
This guy came over to me in the client center, and he was struggling with a sing, and he came and asked me, and we just had like 10 minutes where I was helping him out with things, and then later on another guy came over to me and acted like we'd been friends like a few days before or something. It's so strange, man.
But it's wonderful, and that's something as well. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like the first time you got back into that social situation after lockdown, it was just
strange.
like, oh my.
What is this?
Yeah, it was really, really overwhelming, and that's sort of part of my thing recently. I've been coming to terms with the fact that, with mental health stuff, I'm going to mention that I'm sort of coming to terms with the idea that I can be quite anxious.
Yeah.
And thank you. It didn't come as a big shock when I started telling people. They kind of went, of course, we can see that. And I'm noticing it more in social situations, especially now we're allowed back at the pub or back, doing social activities, whatever they are. You sort of think, was I always like this, or am I only just clocking it now? And sort of that whole process of trying to understand it is becoming my sort of like, I don't know, shield in a way, just to be like, you are good, you can talk to people, don't panic constantly.
To think we're having the exact same thing at the exact same time is interesting. And I've got the same thing of, like, I came out and I told my parents about it. It's like, there's some social anxiety going on in me, which I've been trying to hide for so long, but it's literally pouring out of me now, and I can't even help it. And it did. Like, it just came out of me, and it's like, and the whole time I was like, I just thought I was weird. I thought I was like an odd one out in this world, and to think other people are doing the exact same thing.
It's really interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that, but it's nice to know.
It's going back to like the subject matter of the songs, is that like that everyone is feeling the same thing. Like no matter where you fall, on which side you fall, like it's this really weird blur, isn't it? Like there's right and there's left, and there's leave and remain, but then even amongst the right and the left, that they're mixed, and then there's the people who have the views on stuff like immigration and all that kind of stuff, and they're mixed, and all this kind of stuff. Like the landscape through the landscape of belief has become such a like, I don't know, like almost like a 3D shape rather than like a line on which everyone exists. And so there's going to be some people that you wholeheartedly and profoundly agree on things with, but then you fundamentally disagree with them on other things, and it doesn't mean that their experience is any less valid than yours at any point throughout it.
Yeah, that's it, man. Every single, I get this from like interviewing people on here, and it's like I kind of have like a prerequisite of like, okay, this person could be like this, and then you start actually and you start actually talking to me like, holy fuck, man! Like everyone's so vastly interesting. Like everyone is just a melting pot of a variety of like thousands of different experiences and like things that push them into different ways. And it's like you can't expect everyone to agree with you. And actually, all this stuff like like you just say like left, right, all that. none of that actually means anything. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like day-to-day life and like, you know, okay, you might view that Brexit was a bad thing. Almost seems like it kind of just fumbled into nothing at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously like things are going to come out of it or whatever, but like at the end of it, like in terms of day-to-day experiences and like talking to people, it's like none of that matters. Like, it's like if you're just having a conversation with someone on the street, it's like, are you really going to even talk about that stuff? Do you know what I mean? It's like what you want to. I agree with you, Matt. Like what you're saying, like about being aware towards people and having that sort of reaction from people. It's true, man. Like it's the same with just doing this podcast stuff. It's like if you are attentive to people and you are. I always say this, like I say that's the best way to be loving towards someone is to just give them your full attention. Yeah. Something comes out of them, man, and it's whatever that thing is inside, you know, that wants to like talk and like and share experiences and you know, and just realize that at fundamental level we are all exactly the same, and that bottom line is we're all human and we're all crazy. Like we are all crazy.
Everyone's crazy, but in their own sort of like way.
That's it, man. Like everyone has their own. Like everyone carries this little. I call it like the monkey brain. Like there's just this thing that comes around with that. Oh, don't say that. Oh, do you know what I mean? Like, and yours might be like, someone's might be based on like a scientific person might be based on knowledge. It's like okay, I'm gonna. When I converse about things, I'm going to talk about like facts about things like that, or like I know for a fact that like I find like some social situations difficult, so I'm more of a like laid back listen to people. You know what I mean? And everyone is formed in just from their life experiences into these different little beautiful little sculptures. But at a fundamental level, we're all the same. We are all the fucking same.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch up on new episodes every week. Also, check us out on our Facebook and Instagram at RecRooms, where you can find out about our other exciting music series. We also have this and all our other episodes of the podcast up on our RecRooms YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. See you next time.